Mr. Chairman and members, I support regular review of regulations to ensure that they are still relevant to our ever-changing economy. And I support the stated intent of this bill, which is to replicate a framework like the decennial review bank. Regulators' conduct of their rules under the Economic Growth and Regulatory Paperwork Reduction Act of 1996. Unfortunately, despite the best intentions, this bill places an additional administrative burden on the Securities and Exchange Commission, an already overburdened and underfunded regulator. Specifically, it requires the Commission to conduct additional retrospective rule review within 5 years of the bill's enactment, and then once every 10 years thereafter. Today, the SEC has a number of formal and informal processes for identifying existing rules for review. For example, the Regulatory Flexibility Act already requires the SEC to conduct a 10-year retrospective rule review, and the Paperwork Reduction Act requires periodic reviews of information collection burdens. The SEC is also currently conducting several broad-based reviews of rules related to issuer disclosure, equity market structure, and the definition of accredited investor. The bill also makes several important deviations from the comparable bank rule. For example, under this bill, the SEC is required to first vote, then provide notice and comment, and then amend or repeal any regulation, possibly supplanting the normal notice and comment process under the Administrative Procedures Act. I'm also concerned under the bill the SEC would be able to amend or replace a congressionally mandated rulemaking simply if it determines that it is ineffective. So even if it is in the public interest to continue the Jobs Act rule permitting general solicitation for 506c private offerings, the SEC could override the will of Congress and repeal the provision. I sure don't want the SEC ignoring what this esteemed body decides. I'm also concerned that the bill exposes the SEC to additional litigation risk, although I understand that there may be a manager's amendment to address this concern. What's more, it appears that the bill would require the SEC to review and amend all of its significant regulations dating from 1934 within the first 5 years of the bill's enactment, which would be extremely resource-intensive and unworkable. Finally, the SEC is already a cash-strapped agency that is attempting to implement the remaining provisions in Dodd-Frank, attempting to implement the Jobs Act, attempting to respond to industry concerns by conducting holistic reviews, holding roundtables, and forming advisory committees on topics ranging from proxy advisory firms to equity market structure to disclosure modernization. I'm opposed to placing yet more burdens on the Commission, especially burdens of the magnitude contemplated under this bill, without providing them with the incremental resources to handle such a new task. So I would oppose this bill, and I would yield back the balance of my time. And well, before I do that, let me just say to Mr. Poliquin, Mr. Bruce Poliquin, one of the friendliest legislators I've ever met, who greets all of the members with a smile, that we did not misuse our time today talking about export-import, and I wanted to make you aware that you have export values of $51 million in your district, and I don't know if you've gotten a chance to meet some of your business people yet, but the New Page Corporation, the Auburn Manufacturing Incorporated, Pack Glen, Trenton Bridge Lobster Pound, Incorporated, and I believe this is Wall Comatrex Incorporated, represent that 51 million in value. So I think it would be wise to not only talk about it, but encourage others to talk about export-import. It is so important to job creation and support of small businesses in your district. And with that warm smile that you have and that lovely attitude that you have, I know your businesses would welcome you to come there and see what they're doing. And so I'm looking to you to help lead the other side of the aisle to support the reauthorization of XM. If anybody could do it, you can do it. Thank you so very much, Mr. Poliquin.